Hello everyone. In the last part we discussed about the male reproductive system. Now today we will study about the female reproductive system. Actually the human female reproductive system is specialized to support the process of gametogenesis. Gametogenesis means formation of gamete, that is the ovum in case of female, and after that ovulation means after the formation of gamete, after the formation of ovum, it is released from the ovary. That process is known as ovulation. And after that fertilization means the fusion of male and female gamete, which leads to the formation of zygote, and finally zygote leads to the pregnancy, and after that birth and childcare. So these are the specialized functions which are performed by the female reproductive system. Now we will study about the parts of female reproductive system. The main parts are a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, external genitalia and mammary glands. We will study it by one. Let us start with the ovaries. These are the primary female sex organ. Why these are known as primary female sex organ? Because it has mainly two functions. What are that? First is that it produces the female gamete, that is the ovum, and the second function is that it produces the female sex hormone, you can say ovarian hormone. That's why these are the primary female sex organ. Let us see in this diagram. These two are the ovaries. Now the ovaries are 2 to 4 centimeter in length and connected to the pelvic wall and uterus by the ligaments. You can see here that these ovaries are connected to this uterus. These are ovaries, this is the uterus, by a connection that is known as ligament in this case also. So each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium enclosing an ovarian stroma. Means on the ovary there is a covering like structure is present. Now next part is the accessory ducts. Accessory ducts means which helps in the transportation of ovum. What are that? These are oviducts, uterus and vagina. Oviducts are also known as fallopian tube. Let us see here. These are the oviduct. This one and second one is this. These are the oviduct. And this is the uterus. Central part is the uterus, and after that vagina. This one is the vagina. So these are the accessory ducts which helps in the transportation of ovum. Now studied about the oviduct. Oviduct is also known as fallopian tube. Each fallopian tube is actually 10 to 12 centimeter long. It extends from the periphery of each ovary to the uterus. See here that it starts from here. This starts from here and it enters through the uterus. So it starts from the ovary and enters into the uterus in this case also. So these are the fallopian tube, or you can say oviduct, and this fallopian tube has mainly three parts. You can say here this is the infundibulum, then ampulla and then isthmus. Infundibulum is the starting of fallopian tube and it has some fimbriae like structure, finger like projections that are known as fimbriae. Fimbriae helps to collect the ovum which is released by the ovary. See it again that these are the three parts: isthmus, ampulla and infundibulum. Infundibulum has some finger like projections that are known as fimbriae. The main function of fimbriae is to collect the ovum which is released by the ovary. After the fimbriae collect the ovum enters into the infundibulum, then ampulla and then isthmus. This is the pathway which is followed by the ovum. So infundibulum, it is the funnel shaped part closer to the ovary as I told you, and it has fimbriae. These are the finger like projections at the edge of the infundibulum that aid in collecting the ovum. Means this helps in the collecting of ovum after ovulation. Next one is the ampulla. Ampulla is the wider part of oviduct after the infundibulum. Just after the infundibulum, ampulla is present. You can see here this one is the ampulla. And after that, isthmus. It is the last part of oviduct and it has a narrow lumen and it joins the uterus. You can see here fallopian tube starts from here and ends at here. So isthmus is the part which helps to join fallopian tube to the uterus. Now let comes to the uterus. It is also known as womb. It is it is shaped like an inverted pear. The shape of uterus is like an inverted pear. You can see here, this complete is the uterus. Now the uterus has mainly three linings. You can see here endometrium, myometrium and perimetrium. Endometrium is the inner lining which is completely filled with blood vessels, and second one is the myometrium, and perimetrium is just the outer lining. So it is attached to the pelvic wall by ligaments. The uterus is the part, it is the main part where the embryo develops into the fetus, means it is the part where the development of baby takes place. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. You can see here, this is the uterus and this is the vagina. So uterus opens into vagina through a canal, through a place that is known as cervix, and the canal which leads to vagina is known as cervical canal. So the uterus opens into the vagina through a narrow cervix. Uterine has three layers of tissues, as I told you: perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. Perimetrium is a thin external membranous layer, it is the outer layer. Myometrium is thick middle layer made up of smooth muscles, and the main function of myometrium is that it helps in the strong contractions during the delivery of baby. And the endometrium, it is the inner glandular layer that lines the uterine cavity. It undergoes periodic changes during menstrual cycle. We will study menstrual cycle later on. Means endometrium mainly helps in the menstrual cycle. Now comes to the cervix. As I showed you that it is a narrow canal connecting the uterus to vagina. The cervical canal, the cavity of cervix is called the cervical canal. Now next one is the birth canal. The cervical canal along with the vagina forms the birth canal. See in this diagram, the delivery of baby takes place from here. So this is the uterus, and the uterus joins with the cervix. Cervix finally opens in the vagina. So cervical canal and vagina forms the birth canal, from where the birth of baby takes place. Now comes to the next topic, that is the mammary glands. Actually, you know that mammary gland is the characteristic features of mammals. So the presence of functional mammary gland is a characteristic of all female mammals. Mammary glands are also present in males also, but it is not functional in case of male. Mammary glands are only functional in the females. These are the pair structure of breast that contain glandular tissue and variable amount of fats. Fat is present in the mammary glands. Glandular tissue in each mammary consists of 15 to 20 mammary lobes. You can see in this diagram. These are the mammary lobes, means 15 to 20 mammary lobes are near about present here. And the mammary lobes have cluster of cells called alveoli. You can see here that this is the mammary lobe, and these have the alveoli, mammary alveoli. This one is the mammary alveoli, and milk is stored in the lumen of cavity of alveoli, and alveoli opens into mammary tubules. Let us see where this is the mammary tubule, or you can say mammary duct, and the tubule of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. Several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla. Means when many mammary duct joins, these are the mammary ducts. When these mammary ducts joins, it forms a wider ampulla, and finally the ampulla opens into the nipple, from where the milk is sucked out. So several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla, and the mammary ampulla is connected to a lactiferous duct through which milk is sucked out. Let us see again. Many mammary lobes are present first, and mammary lobes open into mammary alveoli. Many mammary alveoli joins to form the mammary duct, and many mammary duct opens into a structure that is the ampulla, and finally ampulla opens into the nipple. So this is the structure of mammary glands in case of female. In the next part, we will discuss about the gametogenesis process, both in case of males and females, that are spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Thank you.